Welcome to the DNA Advantage podcast, where you can learn facts about your DNA that can help you live a healthier, longer life, doing all the activities you dream of doing. If you want to gain more control over your health and the factors that influence it, you're in the right place. Today, I just want to talk a little bit about what motivates us to be focused on our health and working towards better health. Making decisions that are health motivated rather than just allowing things to happen by chance. So just in talking to several people and working through the process of up-leveling our health, I've found that what motivates us in most cases is illness and certainly annoying symptoms that might either indicate illness or may be a precursor to illness. The fear of illness, the fear of disease that maybe our family members have experienced, or even just seeing it in the public space and seeing that it's more prevalent and we don't want it to happen to us. And certainly the symptoms that go along with it that reduce our quality of life are undesirable. And then the desire to achieve or maintain high performance rather than allowing the symptoms to distract us from that level of performance. Those are the things that typically motivate us. We don't want to wait until we're under the gun and feeling like we have to do something different. And then not only are we in that position of feeling stressed about our health, but also we may be making choices that aren't necessarily specific to our needs. So we're going with whatever's recommended, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. My goal is to align all of these motivating factors and clarify the steps that lead us to the goals that we all have. And that's to stay healthy and able to do all the things that we want to do without the distraction of illness, without being slowed down by symptoms, and be able to age well and move forward with an active life. Be able to focus mentally, sleep well, all of those things. To do this, it takes a plan. We may look at certain people in our lives, relatives or just people that we know in our community, and think that they've lived long lives. They didn't seem to have a plan. It seems like it may just be luck. It may just be up to chance that some people have long, healthy lives and other people don't. But I think what we want to do, and I encourage you to do, is look closer at those individuals. And I know for myself, I was always told we have longevity in our family. I don't, because both my parents died young. But looking at great-grandparents and grandparents, looking at some of the grandparents, not all, that they lived longer and therefore we have longevity and good health genes. However, upon closer inspection, that has a lot of holes in it. Because when I look at the theory that they have longevity, sure, but healthy genes I question, because my great-grandmother, and I can't remember when she really was well and able to function at the level that I would want to function anyway. I'm sure that she wanted to function better as well. She was under my grandmother's care for a good portion of my life, so observing, and I lived with my grandmother for a while, so it was a multi-generational home as a result of my great-grandmother not being able to care for herself. Although I love the idea of a multi-generational home, I don't want it to be under those circumstances for myself. I would love to be living with my children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren at some point, but I want to be out and moving and doing things with them and not living with them because I can't maintain my health for myself. The idea is then to align our goal of resolving symptoms and illness, avoiding the annoying symptoms, knowing that we don't have to fear disease, that we can actually do things proactively, and of course achieve and maintain high performance so that we can be living the lives that we want to live and making the contribution in the world that we want to make. To do this, you want to have a plan, and being able to understand that it isn't just luck and it isn't just up to chance. We want to take some steps. In the past, when we look at the way that people had to do things, it was really looking at what other people are doing successfully and what is really serving them, and then modeling after them. There wasn't a real clear understanding of what we needed as individuals. It was more about what we're seeing others use or eat or avoid, and then really patterning ourselves. Now we have a lot more to go on. We've always had the ability to reflect on how our body is responding to things, but now we can even look at our DNA and understand how well do we even utilize those resources, whether it's a vitamin, a nutrient, a mineral, or even a therapy. Being able to understand how our bodies use those is really important. Here's how we really need to progress. The first step is we need to look at natural remedies and support for our bodies and recognize how we respond to them. So many of you have probably already taken this step. Most of these are found through symptom research online or in magazines and books and things, hearing people comment on what has worked for them, and certainly asking others what worked for them, asking for recommendations. Unfortunately, a lot of the natural remedies and natural support is not recommended, at least at first, by physicians. So when we go to a doctor, a lot of times we get the prescriptions, over-the-counter medications, and let's just see how it goes and see if it gets worse. We have to be able to see through those things and appreciate that that is not what our bodies are lacking. If it's something that our bodies wouldn't normally either produce or use in the process of daily function, we have to question whether it's just masking the issue, masking the symptom. And if it is, fine. If you feel the need to take that, that's absolutely fine, but just temporarily. We need to continue to ask why, and we need to continue to look for what is actually going to serve us and make us better. A lot of you have probably already implemented some natural remedies and solutions and support. That's fantastic. What we then need to do is run to that next step, which is to really listen to your body and appreciate how your body is responding to those natural remedies. Let's just say that we have a symptom that is a headache, and in the past maybe tried to use the quick fixes like Tylenol or ibuprofen. It wasn't working, so then we've stepped up our game and we've gone to natural remedies, and we're trying to figure out what is going to actually support us. Drinking more water for some people is all that's needed, but in other cases, we see that there are some toxicities that are building up in our bodies. So you get clues from those symptoms and appreciate when they're happening, when they're intensifying, when they're relieved. And then you're getting a lot more information. And that's the second step. So we're not just going to natural remedies that someone else benefited from, but we're looking at what is the process within our own bodies that is breaking down, that is not functioning at an optimal level, and how can we support that? What is going to give us the greatest advantage of improving and optimizing our health and our function? And then implementing those things. So that's the second step, is to listen to our bodies, pay attention to what's working and what's not working, implement some of the strategies. If you have a headache before you eat, it could very well be that your sugar is dropping. And so you have to pay attention to that and appreciate what's going on with your blood sugar and how you might be able to remedy that by eating more regularly to support your nutrition more consistently, even not having enough water, as I mentioned, things like that, that you're giving yourself all of the advantages. And then you get to that next layer of, if there are toxicities, if you are having certain irritations or response to sensitivities and things like that. The third step is to take it to the even farther level of looking at your DNA and appreciating what your body's capabilities are. So even looking at your lab work and appreciating what your body's current status is, if you do have too many toxicities, you may see some of those in a hair mineral analysis. You may be able to see hints of those in what your body is either lacking or has an abundance of in a lab test. With DNA testing, you're also able to then look at what is my body's capability, what is more likely to become a toxicity. So if I'm being exposed in a work environment to a particular heavy metal or a particular toxin, even artificial fragrance, which I can personally attest to, that was really one of the big contributors to my headaches when I was in my 20s. I worked at a business that produced a lot of fragranced items. I had no idea that I was sensitive to chemicals, and that's what those fragrances are made of, is chemicals. And I had massive headaches to the point of being diagnosed with cluster migraines, which I still to this day say it was not cluster migraines, but it was a really interesting time for me to realize what my body could and couldn't handle. Now that was before the genome had been sequenced. I wasn't able to look at my own DNA and appreciate why, but now we can. And not only are we helping ourselves, but we're helping our children and our relatives. Even if you don't have children, but you have nieces and nephews, it's a hint because you have DNA that is likely passed on to other relatives in your family, and you can get a sense of what's working and not working efficiently in your body. Then if they also have symptoms, you can pass along that information. It's always important and valuable to do your own DNA testing because it will vary at a great level. It's only 50% of your family and then 50% of the fathers or the mothers. It's important to appreciate what we can do to navigate the system and appreciate what the body is capable of doing. And if the body doesn't absorb a particular nutrient efficiently, we can compensate for that. Whether it's giving a cofactor, whether it's eating foods in combination, whether it's avoiding certain foods, there are so many strategies that we can implement that are proactive. And if you think about how disease develops, I see it represented in some scenarios where it's almost like it's a villain. And I think that's very disempowering when we look at a disease like cancer and we think of it as a villain that attacks us. That's not helpful because the fact is we have weaknesses within our system that may be momentary. It may be stress, it may be caused by a particular environmental factor, but the fact is that we have then fallen prey to that weakness, not necessarily an evil that's outside of us. And so we have to be able to boost our own strengths and give ourselves every advantage of healing and becoming a healthier system overall. And then we can fight those things and we can overcome the development of these cells that are proliferating because we have had an imbalance for so long. If we don't have enough of certain nutrients, we can't methylate well. If we can't methylate well, we can't detoxify well. If we can't detoxify well, then those toxins that we're exposed to are a lot more powerful over our bodies. And that's not what we want to allow. If it comes to detoxifying and we find in our DNA that we don't detoxify certain things well, then we need to be able to support the detox pathways. We need to be able to look at phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of the detoxifying process within our bodies and appreciate where we need the most support and how to do that. We don't have to have surgery. We don't have to take medications for the rest of our lives to do that. We are giving ourselves natural support. We are doing things proactively and preventatively and giving our bodies every advantage of staying healthy in those scenarios. If we do wait until we're sick, we can still make a difference. We can still heal, but we are already at a disadvantage. We're already in a position of defense rather than offense. And I don't want to see people waiting until they feel they have to be under duress and making quick snap decisions because things have progressed. If that is the case, get together with someone who knows how to look at DNA, look at your DNA, understand what could be the underpinnings of your weaknesses and your illness, and establish a plan, put it into action, do what you have to do to start bolstering your system, because that is truly the way that you can get healthier, overcome illness, and prevent illness and distraction and live the lives that you want to live. I want to give people encouragement. It is possible to give yourself the time and space to look through your labs, your DNA, listen to your bodies. Even if you don't do DNA testing and you're not ready for that, fine. But please listen to your bodies and appreciate what it's telling you. What is your body telling you when you're having a headache? Listen to when you have the headache. How long does it last? When does it intensify? What time of day are you dealing with? Is it before or after meals? Have you been drinking enough water? Have you been exposed to toxins? Are you getting enough fresh air? Are you really stressed? Have you gotten enough sleep? All of these things are major factors, and they do accumulate. So it could be multifactorial. We want to look at how we can support ourselves in the very best way, if we can, without the interference of additional chemicals. If we can do that and be strategic and give ourselves every benefit, and then we start to feel better and look better and have the energy and the stamina and better sleep and all of those things, you know you're going to be healthier. You know you're going to live a longer, better life. Those are all things that play a part, and it makes so much sense once we're on that path. But it's leading up to it and feeling like we're susceptible to whatever might come and not really feeling like we have the power to do anything about it. That's not at all what I want for people. I didn't want it for my relatives, but I couldn't do for my parents what I can do now for others. And that's exciting. It's not sad, because that's what inspired me to do the work that I'm doing. And it has given me the inspiration, and it's giving me the power to speak up. To me, that is a blessing that I was given that information when I was a kid, that there has to be a better way. And I think this is the better way. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. You can contact me directly. Hopefully you will find this helpful, and I would love to hear from you if you have any topics that you'd like to hear about. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Thanks so much for joining me to learn about DNA health. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. If you'd like to join my free community where we delve into more details about DNA, just click Community below.